can, please tell us if Mac found out, because I would love to know. Oh, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that either. I haven't heard that either. But the parents were at the adjoining hotel, so I don't really know.
And they weren't telling us.
Right.
I think it's probably.
Well, I was gonna say, how many times do we do out of town?
It's 5 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here, not playing hooky on this gorgeous day. So, Jason, roll call, please.
Sarah Sarda.
Here.
Terry Crandall.
Here.
Kathy Greenaway.
Here.
Franny Kiefer.
Here.
Jill Sternquist.
Here.
All right. We have a quorum. Moving on to the approval of the agenda number 2.
Motion to approve the agenda before us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Greenaway.
Yes.
Sarda.
Yes.
Crandall.
Yes.
Sternquist.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. All right. Agenda is approved. Moving on next to the approval of the minutes from the last board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 9th school board meeting.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. Roll call, please.
Sternquist.
Yes.
Greenaway.
Yes.
Sarda.
Yes.
Crandall.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes, minutes are approved. Moving on, does anyone have a direct conflict or an indirect conflict they wish to disclose? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I would like to pull off letter F. Are there any other items that anyone would like to pull off the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a
Motion
motion.
to-
Oh, go ahead.
Motion to approve the consent agenda before us.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Greenaway.
Yes.
Sternquist.
Yes.
Crandall.
Yes.
Sarda.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. All right, letter F. It's that bittersweet time of year when we have some retirements happening in our district. And so I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kindle for a minute to say a few words about some of those who are retiring.
Yeah, so thank you. I asked if they would like to come tonight, and I am glad you are here. We have probably, I think, well over 170 years of retirements that are going to probably really enjoy what they're going to do next after they're done teaching and coaching, and in Mark's case, being one of our school counselors, and Cindy, 25 years of being in the attendance office. And I think is for all of you that know anything about the attendance office, I don't know how you do it, Cindy, but we're grateful to you. We're grateful to all of you. I want to thank those that, and all of you did, except for one or two that I didn't get a chance to visit with in person. I really appreciated you taking the time to visit, and we're grateful to you. And your comments about the district and your careers in Yankton were just really nice to hear. So thank you for everything that you've done for our kids. And we're going to miss you. And we still have a little ways to go. So remember, we're still not done yet. And, you know, we'll catch up to you again at our end of the year recognition. But I would like to offer you, any of you that would like to say something, you're welcome to do so. And you don't have to go to the mic. You can just.
I would just echo what you said. It's been a privilege to be part of this school for 32 years that I've been in Yankton, 40 overall. but I always felt like this was a destination, a place that I wanted to be because of the quality that you have. So through the leadership that you had, and then also the association with all the people that I've taught with, from Allison Moon's kindergarten room to Doug Pasika's history room to going and doing a puberty talk with Mrs. Upsall. Not let me restate that for the record. Mrs. Upsall's students, yes. One of my proudest accomplishments. I did every elementary puberty talk in one day. So yeah, but greatly appreciate the professionalism and everything that has occurred throughout the years, and I value the time that I spent here. So thank you very much.
Ditto.
And then Suzanne's here. I am going to mention Suzanne. So she had put in for early retirement, was not one of the 4, but we are happy to have you coming back. So thank you.
No, I echo everything that Dr. Kindle said. We have a great district, and it starts with all of the staff and everybody who works with the teachers every day. So thank you truly for your dedication to this district and to our students. So yes. All right. Yeah. I like it, Dr. Sternquist. But we have a lot of, yes, the end of the year celebration will be very fun this year. So you've had some big speeches in the past to outdo, so good luck with that. But no, I will entertain a motion for letter F.
Motion to approve letter F on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Sarda,
Yes.
Crandall,
Yes.
Sternquist,
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. All right. Bittersweet, we accept those resignations, so, or retirements, I should say. Moving on, public comment. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Beats?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right, we're on to good news. We have Mrs. Riken and Mr. Lucas tonight.
Hey, congratulations to all of you. I feel privileged to have been taught by some of you and worked alongside of some of you, and to have most of you had my boys. Congratulations and for all you've done. So yeah, school happenings at Webster School. It's only mid-February, but as we're talking about, people leaving us already, then we're already talking about everything spring at the school. So I've got about 6 things I'd like to fill you in on. Preschool registration, we've already started that for next year. It always comes real early. We begin that at the beginning of December every year. This year was the first year that we've done an online registration. And I won't sugarcoat it that it was not perfect, and it still is not, but thanks to Nicole and Allie and Julie Madriger, who is at Webster School in the office, who has the best attitude a person could ever have. We have done pretty good, and we already have, I just looked this afternoon, we already have over 130 registered for next year already in preschool. So that's a biggie. Santa's workshop, a couple of the things that I'm talking about today, we were able to finally bring back. We haven't done them for a couple of years because of this little thing called COVID. So we kind of had to look back in the books and say, how do we do this? What do we do? So our student council held that in December. Our WOW group, which is our parent group, donated money for that. And then probably one of the most exciting this year is Coach Micheletti from Mount Marty reached out to Webster School. His son goes to preschool with us, and he wanted, well, I should rephrase that. He said the football players wanted a school to start donating some of their time. So I just have to really tell you that it was really neat. He had about 30 football players come with their jerseys on and help our little ones. So if you can close your eyes and imagine, 6'5", 300-pounders with great big hands sitting in our little lunch tables, helping assemble Oriental trading ornaments. I mean, it was really a big deal. I think they enjoyed it just as much as our little ones. But, some of our little boys especially walked into the gym and, they think they're in the NFL. I mean, for goodness sakes, it was a big deal. So that was a neat community partnership. Also, Junior K Kindergarten Open House, we were able to bring back again for the first time. All 4 of the elementaries had this last week. The only change now is that we've also moved to an online registration for that as well. So we'll see how that plays out, but we're hoping good. One nice thing with that is that they'll register, the secretaries will process that, and then within 48-ish hours, they'll get an email to just automatically sign up for the screening, which is in May of this spring. So we'll see how that goes. Our student council, we always do 2 sets of elections. So 3rd through 5th graders, they had an election and nominated their peers, 2 from each class. So those kids in the spring, they're busy planning our parent-child dance, which is always a hot ticket item. They're planning some sort of a community, maybe a food drive or something, and then they help with the spring carnival. Mr. Davison and Ms. Shortbull were already down with our 5th graders, registering them for 6th grade for next school year. And then probably one of the most exciting, and I would just offer to everyone, if you know of a group or an organization, Dr. Kindle and I have been busy making a few community presentations on our early childhood facility. So it's been very well received. We've had really nice big crowds at these, and just asking us questions that we're really happy to answer and to get the information out to the public about the new facility, where it will be, the timeline, everything involved in that. Exciting things. Questions or?
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Reagan.
you.
All right, so I brought a couple of visitors with us here. So we started last year, Jerome approved Augie coming as one of our therapy dogs for PT. And then when we hired Megan, she asked me, she goes, well, I have a therapy dog. And I kind of chuckled because I was like, well, what are the odds that both our PT and OT both have certified therapy dogs? So I brought them along to kind of talk how they use the dogs in their therapy. And also Pam's going to talk a little bit about tail wagging tutors that we do at Stewart.
So I think when I first started, I kind of had a narrow view of how I was going to be able to utilize Augie in therapy. And I thought, okay, throwing and kicking, and I've got some things that like pop out a ball, and they can work on jumping and those kinds of things. And she'll always retrieve. She'd do it all day long. And then I needed her to practice for the therapy dog test. So for some kids, she needed to sit and just lay in bed. Sorry, they're meeting each other. So I needed her to just lay on her bed and practice staying. And that was really good because that way, she was getting ready for the test, and kids weren't scared of the dogs. So then after that, then I realized I could do a lot of things with balance. I could have them on different surfaces, and kids that were just learning to walking with them, and some kids that needed, to work on their walking endurance outside and things, and a little motivation to walk. So it worked out really well, and they had a good response to it. So, and then that last thing that's come up from it is that I didn't expect was a lot of the kids that have behaviors, if they earn all their reward system, they can pick different rewards during the day. And so they often come down and visit Augie or visit the room down there. So that's been really fun too. And it's worked well. So then Therapy Dogs International is mostly a volunteer organization. So because I'm working, none of this is volunteer, right? So on my day off, we decided to start a tail wagging tutors program. And basically it's kids reading to dogs. So we started with 2nd grade, and every other Friday we go, and about 6 kids sit down and read to Augie. We set up a little corner in our makerspace room, and they read to her, and it might be from a little teeny book to a chapter in a book, and they've had a good response. And I had bookmarks made, so I hand them bookmarks and take a picture, and they think it's pretty cool. I usually give them a copy, so it's been a successful program. So we might get through 2nd grade, so we might start with 1st now toward the end of the school year. Yeah.
Who keeps the dog is it at your house?
Avo, just kind of around. Doesn't really do anything that cool, but like Pam said, sometimes just a smile, and kids up and puts his head in their lap. They instantly just giggle, and it can make a really big difference. And we had a little guy last week in third grade, who was just having a really rough day. And his teacher came and told me, you know, before you come get him, he's not having a very good day today. And I said, well, I do have Pablo here. He loves Pablo. And so I took Pablo with me to go get him from class, and he immediately just like lights up. His whole day turned around. And then his teacher asked if he wanted to walk Pablo through the classroom so all the other kids could pet him, and he just was on top of the world. He was just the coolest guy ever. That he got to walk Pablo around his whole class. So yeah, they're really simple, just dogs, but they really make a big difference in the lives of kids, and it's just a lot of fun to see.
What is the process for them being, you know, officially a therapy dog, or how does that work?
Yeah, so they're not service dogs, so unfortunately we still have to pay to put them on an airplane. But they're certified through 2 different companies, but Pavel was certified with a woman from my previous job. And so he had to pass an initial test, which was about an hour and a half long, and then she came and observed him in the work setting, I think like 4 more times, and then just said, yeah, you're good.
Yeah, the test is very stressful. It's about an hour and a half long, and there's 4 dogs there, and they're all walking around with their clipboards to make sure your dog's not messing up. And I was like, I was going to be making a mistake, not Augie, but yeah.
So what are they testing them for? Are they just seeing if they stay focused, if they get along, if they're answering like command?
Right, yeah. Obedience, temperament was big. The lady who certified us, you know, she would come up from behind him and like startle him and grab him really fast or reach at his tail, you know, things that like a kid would do, just to make sure that he's not going to react.
They walk around with walkers and drop a cane right by their ear and things like that would startle them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he has a 1-year-old at home who just relentlessly tortures him, so gets a lot of practice now of just tolerating things. So, yeah.
Any other questions for him?
That's neat.
No, thank you very much, and thank you for your time and innovation and bringing those to school.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Graham, you have a hard act to follow. So, did you bring your pet along? But no. Next up, School Finance 101. It's time, the time of year where we have our annual audit presentation from Williams and Company, and Graham Forbes is here to lead us through that.
Thank you. Yeah, this is not nearly as exciting as the
Tail
canine friends
waggers.
there, but my name is Graham Forbes with Williams Company, and so what I'll do here quickly is run through the audit report Jason's got on the screen there. This is for the 12 months ended June 30 of 22. We're going back in time here a little bit. But yeah, so I'd be happy to, I'll walk through here. I'll keep things fairly high level and brief, but I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have or dive deeper into any areas that Dr. Kendall or Jason or anybody would like to dive deeper into as well. So, and then too, I'd like to thank Jason and his staff for helping us get through the audit process, as well as helping us get the information to put together this 130-ish page document and things like that. It's quite an undertaking. It takes a lot of their time to prep for the audit, get through the audit processes, as well as they say, get all the information. Work as hard as they possibly can. So jumping into the financials. The first thing that I usually like to draw attention to is on page 10, Jason's opinion. The very first section there, second paragraph, is where we put our opinion on these financial statements, which, at the end of the day is the main result of the entire engagement. And so there, that second paragraph states, in our opinion, that these financial statements are fairly presented, which is a clean, if you will, or unmodified opinion, which is what we're looking for. No modifications, disclaimer, or other adjustments. So that is good news for the district. From there, starts on page 13, the management's discussion and analysis. I'm going to dive into that, but that's if you're not looking to page through all 130 pages, but want kind of a feel, where's the district at? Where are we at compared to last year? That management's discussion and analysis contains a lot of comparative information, comparing, in this case, FY22 to FY21. And then district staff's got some commentary in there. It helps explain, how did we get from 21 to 22 and what were some of the other factors involved in those years. So good, useful information there, just to get a kind of higher level brief comparison of where things are at. From there, I think I'll jump all the way back to page 33 and 34, Jason. That's where we get into the actual financial statement. Oh, and then this is the statement of revenues and expenditures for the governmental funds. And as you can see there on 33 and over onto 34, the three major governmental funds of the district were the general fund, capital outlay, and special education fund. And I'll kind of skip through most of it, but it kind of draw your attention to the bottom third of the page there where that net change in fund balance column is. And that's kind of your increase or decrease in the fund balances for the year for those particular funds. And as you'll see, the general fund, saw a modest increase for the year, and capital outlay, because of some timing of some projects and things like that, a larger increase. And that fund always has, large swings as funds are accumulated and then projects conducted, see large increases and decreases of that fund as projects come and go, the district partakes in. And then the special education fund, a small decrease. Nothing unexpected or out of the ordinary in the items there. So, and then flipping over to page 37 is a similar statement, only this is for the district's proprietary funds, which the major proprietary fund of the district is the school nutrition fund. So if we go one more, Jason, to 37, there we see the similar statement for that fund. As we can see, a net change in net position of a little over $550,000 in the school nutrition fund, which I think is largely, due to the federal funding that occurred in FY22 related to school nutrition, due to some of those COVID funding measures that were put in play by the federal government. Different factor. So from there, the notes start on page 41. I'm not going to dive into anything specific there. Looking for any detail on outstanding debt, accounting policies, schools' participation in pension retirement plan, or anything like that. There's a lot of detail in there. But again, I'm not going to dive at depth into anything. Happy to. I think following the notes are a bunch of tables, again, concerning the district's participation pension plan, other post-employment benefits, some budgetary schedules, and then starting on page 72 is the statistical section start. And there is a huge amount of information that the district compiles and maintains, and a lot of 10-year comparative schedules. I believe there's 39 tables in all in that statistical section. Starting out just with 10 years of, a lot of the financial statements, summarized information, moving through the financials. There's 10-year trends on revenue capacity, debt capacity, which includes a lot of property tax information and what those valuations and rates have done over the 10 years. And then it gets even into demographic and other district and city and statewide information. And then the last section of that statistical section is the operating all the way to buildings, employees, students, and tenure trend information in that area. So again, I'm not going to dive into any one table. We could spend the evening at it here if we wanted to, but really good information. And I know Jason's mentioned this before, that statistical section is very useful when the district issues or sells bonds. The bonding companies use a lot of that information and makes that process much more streamlined. A lot of good, interesting information there as well. And I think lastly, last I might point out is on page 119. And that's what's called the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And just like it sounds, that schedule on page 119, it details out all the federal funds the district spent in the fiscal year. So as you can see, in the 12 months ended in June, the district spent a little under $6 million of federal funds for that 12-month period. So what this schedule does is it lays out all the different grants or funding streams, if you will, of different federal sources the district received funds and how many dollars from each source were spent. And then because of the volume of dollars that were spent, the district had to undergo what's called a single audit, which means they had, the auditor, us had additional requirements we had to test to make sure those federal dollars were spent in compliance with the different compliance requirements the federal government puts on them. And the district had no findings or internal control weaknesses as a result of that test. So that's. So I promised to keep it short, and that wasn't real short. But from there, I'll stop. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Graham? Okay. Any input you want to offer, Jason, or glad to be done?
Glad to be done.
Thank you to you and your team for all the work on this.
It's a never-ending process, and I've just come to accept the fact that it is what it is. And so I appreciate Graham, and all of our auditors are super easy to work with, and it's just it is what it is. So I'm glad that we have this process ironed out, and this is kind of intimidating when you first look at it, but it's 17 years now we've been doing it, so we're not reproducing all of this data all the time. I mean, it's an always building, always adding to it kind of process.
There was a new standard related to leases that affected this fiscal year, and that was a bit of a undertaking, just working through that. But so there's, like Jay said, it's always building is a good way of putting it. There's lots of things added, but very rarely things taken away is how it seems to be.
Yeah, the fruit of our labor will come when we do our bond process here coming up in the next several weeks. And, for us to be able to, I've done this process for the official statement on debt without a CAFR, and I've done it with a CAFR. And I can tell you it is a far easier endeavor with a CAFR. So, and I think there's value to us, and it'll actually help us secure as good of a possible rating as we can get for our debt issuance. So, as much as I despise doing this report, it's got value.
Perfect. And will this be on the website for anyone?
Yes, that's a good point, Franny. Thank you. From the school's website, we have this on the master menu under our budget and finances page. We have an archive of all of our CAFR reports, and it's now been renamed. That is not a typo. It used to be called CAFR. It is now called the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. So we've added a footnote that, no, that is not a typo. It is labeled correctly. And so we just keep building on this and adding them in there as well for all of our audit reports in the interest of transparency. And we do take these published books. We have them at our school library, the community library, and at the center, as well as in our main office here. So, and available upon request. I mean, this is our audit report, and it is a public record, so we're happy to provide it. After all that time and effort, I hope somebody reads it.
Perfect. I know I was wondering, you sent the document out for us to review over the weekend, and I was curious about the name of it. So, but perfect. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the annual audit report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Sternquist,
Yes.
Sorta,
Yes.
Crandall,
Yes.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you very much for being
Thank you.
here and for answering our questions.
Appreciate
Yes.
working with the district, so thank you.
Thanks. All right, moving on, number 9, snow days. We've had a few of them this year. Dr. Kindle is going to provide a little information, but before that, I just want to publicly thank Dr. Kindle and Tony Anderson. I can't imagine the thought and responsibility that goes into making these decisions. They don't do it lightly. They're out driving the roads 4 or 5 in the morning. They are talking to professionals and they're doing what is best for the safety of all of our students, whether it's a hour-and-a-half bus ride for some students or driving as well. So I just want to thank Dr. Kindle for doing the job that no one wants to do. So with that, I feel like we're going to jinx something by talking about this, but I'll turn it over to you for a little bit.
So I too want to thank Tony Anderson. He is not here, but Tony, he is up at 4 o'clock, literally 4 o'clock, sometimes 3:30 in the morning, and he is driving routes. And he takes it very seriously. By 5 o'clock, I'm up and about doing the other areas that he's not covering, but he by far does the lion's share of getting out there and checking roads. So I do want to thank him publicly for what he does. And as Franny mentioned, you know, I contact 3 different sources for weather, and typically all 3 are different. So then you flip a coin and say which one might be the most accurate this time. The National Weather Service, actually, in some of the big storms that we've had, they've done a really good job of having a special meeting for school administrators the night before, and they kind of give us another briefing and that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that. Our radio stations are really good in town. I call them early in the morning to see if they have something different on their radar. But it's really a collective effort. I mean, there are a lot of people that talk and make sure that we make the best decision that we can. So what we have up on the screen here tonight.
Which one do you want to start with?
Let's do the number of days. So currently we've missed 6 snow days, as all of you know, at least here in the audience. We have had 3 first semester, and then we've had 3 second semester. And so those days are listed up there. And I've had a number of people ask me, hey, can you remind me how many days? It is, in fact, 6. And then the high school and the Waxahachie, they did a great job. They did a little article on snow days, and they put together, you know, how many early releases we've had and how many late starts. And I don't have that in this report, but if you want to know, check out the Waxahachie, and that's a little plug for the Waxahachie. So those are the number of days. The second piece of information that we want to show you, this is what you have in front of you or behind board members here is this is the instructional minute document that we have to keep for the state. And we're required to have so many minutes by grade level. And you can see that it's broken down: kindergarten, grades 1 through 5, grades 6 through 8, and grades 9 through 12. And you can see the column that says how many required minutes were required. And then you can go across and you can see how many more hours or days that we put in than what's required by the state. And that's really your last column. It's marked in the red there. The reason I show this to the board and anybody that's here, our live stream and community members, is that I've been asked that a lot. You know, how does this work? Why don't we have snow days? Could we have snow days? What does it mean to have snow days in your calendar? And my best answer for that is that whether you have snow days in your calendar and you identify them or not, it's just not a magic thing that you still have to add, you're still going to count those in your calendar. So that's going to get added on at the end of the year somewhere, okay? So what we have done in Yankton is that we consider these, the far right column, these are our built-in snow days, okay? We know that we have this many number of days that we can take a look at, or the board can, when we get to the end of this winter. and to take, or at least partially through the end of the winter, and look at it and say, okay, where are we at? How many days have we missed? What do we have when we compare that to the number of days that we're allowed kind of as snow days within this calendar? And even with the 6 days, we still have a ways to go. And we're actually grateful for that, that we put in the time that we do. And so the board will have to make a decision at one of these next board meetings to decide, what do we want to do with these 6 days? And so I think that's a discussion that they will start having in March and April to determine what they want to do with our snow days for a district. But just informational tonight, and I'll turn it back to Franny.
Yes, after visiting with the school board members, our plan is of right now to make a decision in March about the snow days. We'd love to do that now, but unfortunately, there's probably some winter left yet. So that's the plan right now. Does any board member want to ask any questions or provide any other input? All right, so here's to no more snow for the rest of the school year. But anyway, moving on. Number 10, we have our the 21st Century Grant with the Boys and Girls Club. We have Amber Henricks, who is the education director and is going to talk about the tutoring program. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Snow days. The club is like the place to be on snow days. Not saying I want anymore, but it is a fun place on snow days. So I'll just put that out there. Okay, so my name is Amber, and I am the education director here at the Boys and Girls Club. And I'm just going to chat a little bit about the 21st Century Grant. It's our after-school tutor program. We also run our program in the summer. We are, we are our second year or school year in. We're halfway through our second school year. So our program runs after school until 5:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. And we serve 1st through 5th graders at this point. We are currently in Lincoln Elementary School, Stewart Elementary School, and Webster Elementary School, with in the works of being in Beetle by the end of this month. So per school, we can serve as many as 20 students. And our numbers currently are, we serve 14 students at Lincoln, so we have room for 6 more. We serve 12 students at Stewart, so we have room for 8 more. Webster, we serve 19 students, so we just have room for 1 more there. And then once we hit Beetle, we'll hopefully be serving 20 students there as well. Our numbers are a bit low, but we have just opened up our program. Everything's at marketing right now in Brookings, and so we're going to open up the program to parent referrals as well. We're just not getting the referral numbers that we need at this point, but we really want to try to be to that 20 per school. So we're going to work on that. By next week, we should start seeing some parent referrals coming in, hopefully. So our primary focus when the kids are there are math, ELA, and spelling. And with that, we do homework assistance. We do some IXL enrichment. We do some enrichment worksheets, activities, things like that. And then we do have a small amount of time at the end of our program, but from about 5 to about 5:30, where we do allow for those kids that have other homework, science, social studies, something like that, that they can get that stuff out and work on it as well. Some of the other things that we touch on, we do 1 day of journal writing a week. And then we also do SEL every week. It's through a program called Centervention. And I have one of my staff members that is very passionate about SEL. And so she coordinates that and gets that all together for us. And then we do, once a month, we do a Pay It Forward Friday. Some examples, just here in the last week, all of our students have created Valentine's cards for the nursing homes. So we're going to go and distribute those to the nursing homes, just to, something special for the elders in our community. They will leave positive affirmation notes on staff doors. They have, in the fall, helped clean up the tire chips out on the playground of the elementary schools. That's a never-ending job, though. And then we also do a career readiness or exploration day a month as well. Just a couple examples. We had Officer Wilson come in with his canine Rona. The kids really thought that was pretty cool. Just last week, we had a taxidermist come in. That was different for the kids we're trying to step out of their thinking box a little bit. And so that was really cool for them. And then we've had like the fire department come in and things like that. So let's see. Our focus with this program is, obviously academic success, but also mental wellness and food necessities. So with this program, it is targeted for your lower socioeconomical students in our district. However, we do see students of all sorts. But our goal obviously is to see them excel academically. We want to see them build a confidence in their schoolwork, a sense of excitement, and a sense of accomplishment by the time they're done with their day with us. But we also know that sometimes that just isn't going to happen unless you have figured out what else is going on in their lives. And so we do partner with Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health, which has been amazing. We have been able to refer some students to them, and that has been a big help to some of our kids in coming in after school and being excited to be there and wanting to be there. It could be home life is just a little different. Maybe they're not sleeping in a bed, they're sleeping on the floor. Their parents aren't around after school. So for them to come to us at least until that 5:30 time is just super important because they're in a safe environment and we're able to help them as best as we are able there. We do offer transportation as well. So we do transport a lot of kids. I didn't actually put that number down, but we do 2 vans for transport. So we do transport most of our kids home after the tutor club is over. However, we do also bring some back to the club, and then those kids stay until supper, and then those parents pick them up by 7 o'clock. So that's really been popular this year. Last year, I didn't have a whole lot of people jump on that transportation part, but they really have jumped on that this year. So that's been really great. Food necessities. I mean, we are constantly offering help to them with the food pantry. We also provide a Thanksgiving meal to one of our families every Thanksgiving. So that's really great. And then the other thing that we touch on is the PBIS. And so we have our acrostic, our B grade acrostic, and the kids just know this by heart, but it's to be great, and then it's to be generous, to be respectful, excellent, active, and trustworthy. And so with that, we're just kind of getting our kids into the proper tiers. So there's 3 tiers, and your yellow kids, which is your tier 2, we're really working on trying to figure out a good plan of action for them to help keep them interested in their homework, help with some behaviors that they may be having while at the club. So we're really working on that right now as well to try and help these kids just feel good about being where they're at. So yeah, so that is a little bit about the tutor club. Anybody have any questions?
You threw out a couple acronyms in there, and the last one is just the one that you talked about, and I think you said I don't know.
PBIS.
There you go. That's
Yep.
it. What does that stand
So
for?
Positive Behavioral Incentive System. So I believe the school district is also doing something similar. No, coming up? Okay, that's what I heard. Yeah, yeah.
The state they do.
Okay. Yeah. So we went through a training with the Boys and Girls Club up in Brookings, and we implemented this just very recently. So yeah.
Okay, one more time with the acronym.
Yep. So PBIS. So it's Positive Behavior Incentive Systems.
Okay. And then the other one was the SEL. I didn't know what that acronym.
Social Emotional.
Okay.
Yep.
Sometimes you hear it, and then when you hear just the acronym, it's like, okay, tell me that again.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Amber, I just have one follow-up question. So if I heard you correctly, you take up to 20 kids, which which I think I knew that number. Lincoln has 14, Stewart 12, Webster 19.
Yes.
So we still have some room at Lincoln and Stewart.
We do.
And so if I hear a teacher say, geez, it'd be nice if we had some tutoring for these kids, we have openings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And right now it's teacher referral.
It is teacher referral, and everything is up at marketing to get our stuff out on parent referral.
Okay.
So we will start taking parent referral next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
We
And
will
then,
still work with the teachers
Yes.
on that, however, but yeah, we will.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for being here and for all you do. It's a great example of a collaboration between the school and another entity. So, all right, next up, Mrs. Volness, we have online registration process.
Good evening. Mel started me off on this. This year we've been working, myself as well as some other YSD staff, on transitioning our registration to move online. We do still offer paper and print versions, but we're really moving towards the online piece too. And we've been working on this since the start of the school year. We started rolling it out with our preschool students back in November, December. We rolled it out with our 8th graders coming over to the high school. And now we have opened it up for junior kindergarten and kindergarten registration. So we've had lots of parent feedback, teacher feedback, and we keep evolving the system to make it very efficient and easy to use for everyone. A couple of reasons why we transitioned to online is it's more user friendly for the parent. So for myself as a parent, I can go on to my campus portal and I can quickly, without having to re-enter all the information that the school district has on myself and my family and my daughters, I don't have to enter all that. I can just look at it, make sure it's up to date, push submit, and be done. Rather than maybe fill out the whole form again and then have somebody check my form to make sure it's accurate in Infinite Campus. So with that, it leaves for less margin of error, making sure we're not duplicating records, that we're not missing something that maybe a parent told us to update, but we didn't get it updated in the system. So it's really efficient and very easy also for our staff that's processing all of this information. With that processing, we're able to send messages to those that have to deal with the information. We can send messages to myself about a ESL student. We can send messages to our nurses about a health condition they need to follow up with, and it's all through this automated system. So it's been a really nice transition. We did have some bumpy roads, but overall we're getting there, and I heard nothing about junior K or kindergarten, so we've worked out some good already. I'm just going to show it to you briefly so everybody can find it. So if you go to the school district's website and then also on any of the school's pages, if you click new student registration, registration for the 23-24 school year is open. So even if you're registering a 5th grader next year, you can certainly go in. We've focused our efforts right now on kindergarten and junior kindergarten so that we can get the screening and get them that information. At the top, you can see our registration is still in print form for this school year. So if somebody's coming into our district, we still work on the print for this school year. For next school year, if you are a new family to the school district, you would click new family enrollment. And then there's also some directions, nice handouts made by Ms. Davison for parents to follow along. If you're an existing family, we direct you to log into your parent portal. Some of our existing families might not have a parent portal, so they can go ahead and call the building and the office staff will help you, or you can call out to the administration building. And then again, some directions there too. So I'm just gonna show it to you a little bit. So I have a mock account or a registration so that I can show it to you to see what it looks like. So I just logged in, I clicked new family enrollment. I said start process. I'll click on it so I said start new registration and then next. then this is where I go. And so I'm going to begin. It does ask you, you can easily upload your birth certificate, your immunizations, your authenticating your address, all within your registration. And the registration just has these pleats, so don't mind all the yellows and things. Like I said, this is my mock account that I practice on. But we start with our household information, move on to our parent information, our emergency contact information. We do collect other students or other children that might live in the household. So maybe they're not school age yet, but we want to recognize them as part of your family. And then we add our students. So that's all there is to it. In each of these pleats, you can see you just go through and enter your information of what you select. And then that's how different staff members are notified based on what you're selecting. You push, mine has some errors in it right now. That's why it's all yellow. So I can't complete it yet. But once you're done, you just push complete, and then a staff member from our school district will contact you via email and follow up via phone call if there's something we need yet. So, like I said, there's been lots of hands in this, helping to make this process roll out. We really hope it's efficient for our parents. It's very efficient for our staff, and we're glad to be starting online registration. Questions?
So does it give you any kind of, you are 75 complete with current registrations for the next year so that you can kind of keep a tally if someone's been out there?
Like on the processing side, on our side, yes. So you can see, like, I didn't complete this application. I have some errors in here, so that's why it's yellow. So once I get it completed and I submit it, the processing on the back end of Infinite Campus, so our processors, our office staff, Kelly, they will look at it and they can see somebody submitted an application, but we can also search any application. So I can also click, if I'm a parent and maybe I started my application but I didn't finish, you can return to your old application and keep working on it, which is what I pulled up before. And then as on the school side, yes, we can see all of those applications. We can help parents. So maybe they got stuck and they give us a call out here at the school. We can certainly pull up their application, even if they haven't submitted it, and help them through it.
I think more so I was thinking if Jerome wanted to go out there and look to see how many of his current students that he knows is coming back, can you just go by school and see how many of your registrations have been completed by parents already?
Yep. So we have not opened up this, that's called the census update now. We have not opened up the census update for parents yet, which would be our current existing families that are going to return for school next year. We're still targeting those new families, the families that are signing up with new students entering junior kindergarten. So once we open that up to parents, we'll send out a message. They log into their portal and they're just verifying their information and saying, we're going to return to the Yankton School District next year. So we'll be able to collect that information soon. Any other questions?
Other questions? All right. Thank you very much to you and everyone else who's been working on this. So great. Moving on, number 12, we have our first reading of a medication administration policy. Mr. Clemish, you're going to start leading the discussion here?
Yes, I'll
Okay,
start.
perfect.
I have Sheila Woodward here, who can answer any of the legal questions also. Ironically, if you read the newspaper on Saturday, I thought Cora Van Olsen did a super job on interviewing Chief Foote and our sheriff, Mr. Officer Cressy, and talking about Narcan and Dioxlan, which is a drug given for drug overdoses. And one of the things that came about with this is both of our SROs do carry, I'll probably refer to it as Narcan because that's probably what most people recognize as name brand. But our SROs came to me a few weeks ago and they said that the numbers in Yankton have risen for the number of administrations that they have done with this drug. And they know that they can't be at all 6 schools at the same time. So they wanted to make sure that we had coverage in the buildings where they may not be able to get to as fast as they like to. So that's kind of the reason that we're looking at this. Just crazy statistics. 2015, 52,000 overdoses in the United States, and it's since doubled in 2021, over 107,000 overdoses. So, fentanyl is probably the opiate that comes up most often, but we are seeing it in Yankton. So we want to be prepared. The Narcan in the schools program started a few years ago, and that's what we modeled this policy after. And we want to, the two things that we really have to be on top of is training and storage of the Narcan when giving it out. So that's what we're looking forward to, is setting up that training and storage. You do have to lock this one up. It's a little bit different than EpiPens. We have AEDs out here. So you do have to lock this one up. And that means we're going to do something a little bit different with training our principals, our counselors, and the people who are already med trained, nurses, and some of our teachers who are med trained will be the ones receiving the training for Narcan. Do you have any questions over the policy that put together? Okay.
Is there a timeline for if this is approved, when it's approved, when it will be implemented?
Yeah, we are ready to go.
Gotcha.
We have the training ready to go. So as soon as we have our second reading becomes policy, ready to go with the training with the Department of Health. So we're a go. And then the Department of Health works with the physician in Yankton for the prescription so that we can have at least two doses at each of the schools. Sometimes you do have to administer a second dose with someone with the Narcan after so many minutes. Their breathing doesn't come back. Usually about 3 to 5 minutes. If I was shocked, I did take a look at the training, and they're talking about breaths as few as 4 per minute, and sternum rub, all the things that we would have to get training on to make sure that we know when to administer.
I have a question, maybe for Jerome or maybe Dr. Sternquist.
Might want to start with her
so-
first. If you can't answer it, Jill, I'll try. But
So on the Arcan, I maybe misunderstood this, but I thought that I had read that you can just buy that over the counter. Is that not correct? It has to be a physician. I noticed in our policy talks about a physician orders. Okay.
Yeah, with this policy, they require that it's locked with the Association of School Board policy that they put together. This was under Senate Bill 84, I think in 2017. And part of their policy requires that it be locked up. So, by the way, we did administer an EpiPen just last week. So, I mean, these are life-saving, drugs, life-saving, strategies that we can use to help.
So Sheila, on the standing order by a physician, is there somebody that does that appointed at the clinic or? Okay. Okay.
Yep, that's what. And everything like the training comes from the Department of Health. It'll be about an hour training. 45 minutes of it will be a video that's shared, and then we ask questions of the state. And we want to make sure that we have, it available. That's the whole thing. Tell our SROs or emergency staff gets there.
I don't know if I've seen this in there, if it's part of it or not, but who has access to the keys then? I mean, do we have a designated number of people that have access to the keys?
Yeah, building principals, secretaries would all have access to the keys to get into anything that's locked. we have storage of prescriptions now for kids.
And that's just housed in the regular office, your office? No. So they don't need a special key necessarily to get into the office, to get into the. Okay, so there's multiple keys to get in there?
For the outside office. Yeah, this one is different than like an EpiPen available throughout the building, but have strategic areas throughout the school that we have this at.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Flemish? All right, thank you. This is a first reading, so we will address it and at the next, the March meeting and take action on it. Letter B of this is the safe and drug-free and alcohol-free workplace policy as well.
Yes, and this too, Sheila will be able to answer a lot more of your questions, but it's unlawful to, have a controlled substance or be under the influence in the workplace. And so this is our policy. A lot of it we've had before, but with medical marijuana, and Jason had a big role in the Department of Transportation, DOT covered employees. So those were changed throughout that. All right, turn it over to Sheila.
I'm happy to answer any questions, but as Jerome said, we're just tweaking the policy. The Yankton School District is a federal drug-free workplace. But one of the big things is with medical marijuana, we still can't have marijuana on the school district's campus. It doesn't matter whether you have a prescription for it under South Dakota law or not. And so we're making that clear in this policy. We're also adding some definitions. I worked a lot with Jason and Jerome to kind of go through some hypothetical situations, kind of spell out a little bit more in the policy, I think, than had been in there before. It's still pretty much the same bones. When you get to the addendum, that's for commercial people who have CDL licenses. Under federal law, if you ingest marijuana and you test positive in a random test or after a accident or something and you have a CDL, you're going to lose your CDL. Doesn't matter if you have a prescription for medical cannabis in South Dakota or not. So actually that entire addendum to this policy is actually what Jason and his group have already been doing and have been doing for years. We just haven't had it formally policy. And so I thought it made sense when we were updating the rest of the policy to include the CDL language in there. So it was all in one area.
And Sheila, for clarification, it doesn't matter if you're at work or you're on your own personal time with that CDL. If you test positive, you're following the rule all the time.
That is correct.
I just had a question on 2, where it says that additionally, all district employees are prohibited from performing their job duties while under the influence of any substance, including a controlled substance, alcohol, and prescription medication.
Correct. Can't be under the influence.
So they can't take any medication.
Well, they can take it, but they can't be acting in a way that they're impaired, that their ability to act as staff or teachers. I don't think we're going to have a big issue with prescription medication.
I don't think
ever,
so either. But you get
you,
somebody on a controlled like ADHD medication or something
right. No,
like
we're
that.
We're talking about being out of control at school, and that's one of the reasons we did more of those reasonable suspicion. What are signs of reasonable suspicion?
Yeah, I like that.
Jason has Tony actually had a great checklist that we've discovered and now have it in place too for that. So it's more just kind of getting things the district already does and getting it all in one policy.
Any other questions for Sheila or Jason? Okay. Thank you. It's a new world for us, so appreciate your work on this. This is a first reading, so we will take action at the next school board meeting. All right, next up, we are going to enter executive session. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to move into executive session per South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, Section 3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please, Jason.
Sternquist,
Yes.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Sarda,
Yes.
Crandall,
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes, we are in executive session and we do not expect action coming out of this. Thank you all for coming. I now declare we are out of executive session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Have a nice Valentine's tomorrow. Hopefully your sweetie's good to you.